Welcome, everybody. I want to welcome you with some music, some sounds of the blues. Once again, welcome. I'm so excited to share this lesson with you tonight. It's been really fun putting these ideas together, and I want to get right to it. Tonight's lesson is called With the Blues, You Can't Lose. Applying concepts and vocabulary from common blues progressions to improvisation over jazz standards. We're going to sort of unpack that, see what that means. What are the concepts that we can study and practice and draw from the blues? And what is some vocabulary that we can apply to these common blues progressions that works over the blues, and then apply it to other jazz standards? This is my email address for those of you who have questions later on. Please reach out to me and I will be happy to help you. If there are other folks besides saxophone joining us tonight, you're certainly welcome. I know you saw a picture of me with the saxophone but everybody's welcome here, and the music that I provided is in all transposition, so we will see. And yes, I saw in the chat all ages are welcome too. So okay, let's go back to the packet, and at this point I want to get to our first bit of playing, okay? And this is a little page that I put together explaining some of the common pentatonic and blues scales that we can use in the blues, but in all kinds of music. A pentatonic scale has 5 notes in it, so without the octave repeating. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pitches. And then a blues scale adds a 6th note. And that chromatic note, here it's between 2 and 3, here it's between 4 and 5, turns it into a blues scale. A little extra tension, a little extra chromaticism. And so I'd like everybody to go ahead and play that first scale, the major pentatonic scale. The numbers refer to numbers from the major scale. So you can see that this is different from a C major scale by removing 2 of the notes. Removing the 4th note. Excuse me, yes, right there. The space is here. But removing the 4th note, which would be F, and removing the 7th note, which would be B. Would you all play that with me? And if you're playing a different instrument, a different transposition, it's okay. We'll save time if we can just all play this together. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to play it. Nice slow quarter notes, that major pentatonic scale. Everybody on your C. 1, 2, ready, go. Cool. Go to the next one. The blues scale has this lowered third, and that lowered third. A blue note, there's 3 different blue notes. The lowered third, the raised 5th, or raised 4th, or we could call it a lowered 5th as well, and the lowered 7. And we can really lean into those notes and draw out that tension and release. So let's lean into that note, add it to the major pentatonic, and we have a major blues scale. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go. It's fun to play it in triplets. I'll try that in triplets. 1, 2, ready, and go. It's really, really fun. Minor pentatonic. So we adjust some notes. We take out some others from the major scale and adjust the 3rd and 7th. So the root, the lowered third, the fourth, fifth, lowered seventh, and the root again. Let's play minor pentatonic all together. We're going to use this one a lot tonight. We'll be making extensive use of the minor pentatonic scale. Here we go. Ready, go. Excellent. Now, this is the scale you're probably the most familiar with, the minor blues scale, commonly known as the blues scale. Simply the blues scale. When you hear people talking about that, it's this scale right here. And to make a comparison with the major blues scale, we'll call it the minor blues scale. Let's play that one right here at the bottom. Ready, 2, 3, go. Okay, I'm sure that all those sounds, especially that one, sound pretty familiar. You've heard, whether you realize it or not, pentatonic scales in a lot of pop music. Okay, they serve as the melodies. When you hear someone like Beyonce riffing, minor pentatonic, major pentatonic, but then go back to the roots of all this. So some artists that you should also be familiar with, if you like Beyonce, check out Aretha Franklin, okay? Check out Ray Charles, James Brown, Stevie Wonder. You're going to hear a lot of blues and pentatonic scales in the melodies and the way that they sing, and try to capture those vocal inflections and translate them to your instrument. We can try some more of that as we play the practice solos that I've written out for you tonight. Okay, now there's a bunch of theory at the beginning of this packet, and everybody after the class, if you weren't able to download this from the chat, you'll all receive it. Everybody who registered for this will receive the whole packet via email afterwards. And this is great because you can go back and use this as a study tool. This is from the Jamie Aebersold Jazz Handbook, some more review on different common scales. You talked about the blues and pentatonic scales there, some basic theory down there. And then here's a page, also from the handbook, that actually writes out all the 12 blues scales, minor blues scales for our terminology in treble and bass clef. And a really cool description here. The blues scale is used to convey a funky, down-home, earthy, or bluesy sound and feel. Check it out here. After you become familiar with the blues scale, as I have listed it, you may want to add tones to the scale, which give the scale sound more variety. Added tones are underlined. And these are notes that you can find in the major blues scale. So there's the 2, there's the major third, there's the 6th, right, the ones that you underlined. So if you in the key of F, if you take F, G, A flat, A, C, D, F, that's the F major blues scale. So eventually you learn to mix and match all these sounds and create soulful vocabulary. The next bit is from Mike Steinell in a booklet that he shared with me called A Guide to Change Running. He used this for a long time, and then a lot of these ideas went into his new book, Running the Changes, which I listed on the resources page. And I highly recommend you pick that up. This is some heavier theory that if we have time, we'll come back to it. But it explains something called the 2-5-1 progression, which is the most important chord progression in jazz. Now, the blues progression is not only a progression, but a form, typically a 12-bar form, sometimes other forms. But in terms of expressing harmonic centers, key centers, the 2-5-1 establishes those and also can take us to other key areas. And I don't want to get too heavy in the theory because I want to focus on playing. But the lesson is here for you, and this would be a great thing to go back and show your band director at school or anyone you know in your family or a friend, and study this together, okay? It basically talks about some melodies that can express this harmony, these moving chords in the 2-5-1 progression in different combinations. And after that lesson, I listed here for you the 2-5-1 progression in all major keys and in all minor keys right there. So that later on, when you want to apply these patterns in other keys and look for where they appear in, say you have a solo in jazz band and you're looking at the chord changes, you might see this sequence of 3 chords, the 2 chord, the 5 chord, and the 1 chord. Now what does that mean? Let's say we're in C major. We know that the second note in C major is D. So the chord built off of that second note from the key is D minor 7 in the key of C major. G is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, D, E, F, G, the 5th note in the key of C, so we call that the 5 chord. So when you hear these 3 chords, D minor, G7, C major 7, I actually have a piano right behind me. I'll play those 3 chords. Some jazz voicings. 4. A couple different options for voicings. And then minor key, look, the roots look exactly the same, D, G, C, but the chord qualities change. So in a minor key, the 1 chord, the home bass is minor. The 2 chord also has a flat 5 on that minor 7 chord, which is actually a half diminished 7th chord, and there's a couple different chord symbols down here that are commonly seen to express that sound. And then the 5 chord is often altered. Diatonically in a minor key, the 9th will be a flat 9. Listen to what this sounds like in C. You can read more about the 2-5-1 progression in Steinell's chapter in these previous pages here. And also there's some really good lessons in the Jazz Handbook, the very first resource on the page, or on the, on the resource list that I shared with you. Okay, so let's get into some playing, and I'd like to come back to explain those if we have time. We can dig into the theory a little bit more. This is a play-along chord chart from an app called iReal Pro. And at this point, this is page number 10 in the PDF. This would be for concert pitch instruments. So if you're a piano player, guitar player, or flute player, even a vocalist, if we have a vocalist, everyone's welcome. Tonight, you want to start right here. If you play the tenor sax, I'm going to ask that you go to page 17. So you skip through the first, you'll see Autumn Leaves, and you'll see a page that looks like this, Blues Simple. And it starts with C7. So we're going to be in concert B-flat, play a B-flat blues, we're going to play C7 right there, okay? If you play alto sax, we're going to jump here, and you can stay right with me. You don't have to switch. That'll be on page 24. And then if you play if you play trombone or bass, any other bass clef instrument, you want to go all the way down to page 31. So we're all going to start with where it says Blues Simple. So I think tenor saxophonists are going to be the ones that at this time need to switch pages, and you want to be, once again, tenor saxophonists, you want to be on this page that looks like this. It says Blues Simple, and has C7, F7, G7 are the only chords right there. Okay?
Excuse me, Professor, do you have a C instrument treble clef page?
Yes, that would be page 10. So right after this these 2-5-1 charts, and the first chord for C treble will be B flat 7, and then after a couple of chord charts, it'll look like this for C treble clef instruments. This technically will be page 12 then. All right, thank you, Ms. Ferris. I'm going to jump down here for the alto sax players and myself, who was on alto sax. And this is blues simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the backing track, and you can just hear this one time. And there it is. And what I'd like everybody to do is just go ahead and play whole notes with me on whatever note you see for the root of the chord. When you see this symbol, that means repeat. So that'd be 4 whole notes in a row that will match that first chord. And we'll get the sound for the root progression of this. Okay, here we go. Simple 3-chord blues, 12 bars. This is called the 1 chord, lasts for 4 bars. The 4 chord lasts for 2. The 1 chord lasts for 2. We go up to the 5 chord. This is a chord built off the 5th scale degree of the key. The 4 chord for a bar built off of the 4th scale degree of the key, and then back to the 1 chord to finish it out. So now jump forward, and we're going to play our first practice solo that I wrote for you tonight. So you should be, this is the first page of music. Skip the page that says blues jazz with all those chords there. And you're looking at the very first page of music. Okay? And the first 2 bars look like this, or sound like this. All right? And why don't y'all sing that while I play that riff? 1, 2, sing it on any syllable you want. 2, 3, 4. 2-bar phrases. The blues is really fun to play over because we keep repeating the 12 bars, and we don't really have to worry about the chord changes at first. So right underneath, remember we talked about all those pentatonic and blues scales at the beginning? This gives you some vocabulary, a sense of line, a sense of shape. I tried to write a good melody for you that swings and that grooves. And notice a lot of these melodies end on an upbeat. That helps you swing. Later on, we'll practice starting the ideas, not on beat 1. But we'll start on beat 1 to get our footing. So what I'd like you to try to do is sight read this with me. Go ahead and play through these 12 bars with me. I'll even enlarge the screen a little bit. I hope you can see if you're following along on a screen that's... I hope you can. Hope you have a screen that's big enough to read the music. If you're on a phone, squint real hard and do your absolute best. Okay. So, E-flat instruments. You could actually follow along with me because I am sharing that. So Peter asked what page is E-flat instruments on. So Peter, you can just watch my screen share and you'll be fine. And trumpets. And thank you for helping the trumpets and clarinet and tenor sax start. We are technically on page 19 now, the very first page of music. Okay, let's play this along with the track. Okay, I'm going to play this along with the track. Here we go, and I'm going to go even slower. I'm going to put this down to 80, so it's nice and slow. Here we go. I can't hear you all, but I know you did great. I know you did great. Let's do it one more time because I really want you to get the sense of that all of these scales are rooted in the home key. We are in the key of concert B flat. Alto and bari saxes are playing in G. Tenor sax, trumpet, clarinet, you're all in C, right? Everybody else in B flat. So even when the chords change, we can stay in these blues or pentatonic scales of the home key. That's a really, really important concept that's going to translate later to the other jazz standards once we figure out what key either the tune or perhaps the phrase is in. And again, to save time, I'm going to try to keep playing, and you can go back and say, oh, that's 1, 3, 4, 1 flat 3 4 5 4 flat 3 1 flat 3 for the pentatonic, and then 1 flat 3 4 sharp 4, a little more tension, becomes the blues scale, 4 flat 3 1 7, and we end on colorful notes like 7 and 3. There's some nice tension in that, and then a very nice cadence. We end on the root, the very end of the chorus. Okay, let's do one more time. This, then we're going to move on to the jazzier blues changes. And I also want to say really quick that I am using the iReal Pro to play along, and it looks like that. You can find it, it's called Blues Simple. That's how they describe these 1, 4, and 5 chords. And you can find this tune, and you can change the tempo, you can change the key, you can right now I have the chords appearing for E flat instruments, so it looks like an alto sax player or bari sax player needs, okay? So that's what I'm using for this play along track. Let's go back to the packet, and we're going to play this one more time. Here we go. Remember that we're in concert B flat the whole time. Cool. All right. So, what we have here now is the blues jazz etude. And I'm going to jump back. You could actually jump back one page and look at the blues jazz chord progression. And notice there's some extra chords here. All right. In measure 2 goes to the 4 chord. And then all the other chords, in measure 4, we have what's called a 2-5. Remember that? 2-5 leading to the 4 chord. In measure 8, we have a 2-5 leading to the 2 chord. And again, this theory is very heavy right now, but the beautiful thing is I've written out some melodies for you, and you don't have to worry about it right now. You can go back and kind of unpack the theory later on. If we had more time, right? If we met more than once, we could unpack it a little more slowly. So forgive me if I'm going too quickly, but I want you to experience these sounds and then try to apply them. And I really think that we can do it, and I think there'll be some time for questions too. Okay, so again, we have an extra chord in bar 2. In bar 4, we have a 2-5 leading to the 4. In bar 8, we have a 2-5 leading to the 2 chord. And then the last 2 bars, there's some extra chords. We call that a turnaround because it turns us around and brings us back to the first measure, because we just keep repeating these same 12 measures over and over again. And if we look now back to the music, so underneath the example that we just played, I wrote a practice solo here for you to the blues jazz progression, which has some more chord substitutions. It's a little more harmonically active, but still within the 12-bar blues context. And we can take the 2-5 progressions and create some patterns based on the theory that Mike Steinel teaches and create some melodies. So every time you see the name of a scale, that's the same as before, the same scale as before. Maybe the melody is a little different. I did include the major blues here. And anytime you see numbers, this is really important. Anytime you see numbers, those are relating specifically to the scale degree or chord tone of the chord symbol that you see right above it, okay? And the numbering, by the way, it starts with measure 13. You could subtract 12 from every number and you'd get the number of the 12-bar blues form. So 13 minus 12, that's bar 1 of the blues, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay? So we still have our 12, excuse me, did I say 11? I meant 12. 13 minus 12 is 1, okay. Thank you. So many numbers that we're dealing with. Let me play this for you one time before you actually play it along with me. Just listen to how I weave in and out. I'm going to weave in and out of these pentatonic and blues scales and then actually try to hit these changes, okay? So check this out. This is the blues jazz solo. It starts on an upbeat. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Over the turnaround and reset for a new chorus. Okay? You don't always have to fill up every single beat with sound. It's good to leave space. You notice I left some space at the end of these 2-bar phrases here and reset, and then these bars lead right in here, and then I left a little space. So just to recap before we play this together, this is called a short 2-5 in measure 16 on the music. It's the 4th bar of the form here. That's called a short 2-5 because it takes place within one measure. Each chord gets 2 beats. If you go down to the bottom line, measure 21 and 22, or measure 9 and 10 of the form, that's called a long 2-5 because each chord gets a full measure. You're going to see both examples of that in the next 2 tunes. Let's play this one along with the track, and this is the blues jazz track. Go nice and slow. Do your best. We will only have time to play this. Well, let's see. Let's see how we do. I think we should try to play it one time. Do your absolute best to sight read, okay? Here we go. Minor blues over the turnaround. And again, there I didn't even think about the chord changes. I just played back in the home key. So you see how we're weaving out of the home key, but then when it comes time to try to lend some clarity to the voice leading in these 2-5s, we have some special melodies that we can play. Okay? I think with that concept, I want to keep moving here, and I want to move on to Summertime. Okay, so this is a tune by Gershwin, and it's 16 bars, so it's not a 12-bar blues, but it has a very, very strong tonal center in the home key, which is concert D minor. So B flat instruments, your first chord should say E minor. E flat instruments, you can see B minor here for alto saxes. And I'm going to take you very quickly through this chord progression. It's the 1 chord for 4 bars. It lasts for 4 bars. Then it goes to the 4 chord in minor, for 2 bars, and then there's a long 2-5 in the key of concert D minor. Then we go back to the home key, the 1 chord for 3 bars. Then we have what's called a short 2-5. Remember, a short 2-5 takes place in 1 measure. That leads us actually to the relative major. There's a cycle of keys here. Relative keys, they share the same key signature. They also share pentatonic scales and blues scales. We won't get into that right now, but you might see it in the solo. You might notice it, that concert F major is concert D minor. Same key, same pentatonic, same blues scales. And a 3, a 7, and then a 2-5-1 to bring us back, and then a quick 5 chord at the end. Again, please don't feel overwhelmed by the theory. Now I just want you to play and look at the solo. There's actually 2 choruses. What's a chorus? In jazz, 1 chorus is 1 time through the form. In this case, 16 bars. So I've got 2 choruses here. Let's play the first chorus, and I'm actually going to be using now play along from learnjazzstandards.com. So it looks like that, okay? And you can see there's a play along there. The chord charts come there as well. I just want you to see where I'm playing from. Let's go to our solo. This is Summertime. And notice that I'm using some of the same vocabulary from the blues solos, but we're just in a new key, okay? There's no key signatures here. I put an accidental by everything that you need. Let's play the first chorus, the first 16 bars. Do the absolute best that you can. All right? I've actually slowed the play along down just a little bit. I'm going to put it on 75% tempo. You can do that in YouTube. It's awesome. Here we go. 1. Oh, excuse me. I forgot to share the screen. Thank you. Going back. I think that's the last time I'll have to change. So, there we go. And we're back. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. To scoop into some notes, to add a vocal quality. Let's do that one more time. And notice that even when the chords change, everybody, this is a really important concept you can take from the blues. Even when the chords change, and it doesn't work with every tune in the world, right? But it works in this tune, Summertime, because all the chords have a very strong pull back to the tonic key. And notice the phrasing, 2-bar phrases with space in between. And with 2-bar phrases, we can build a 12-bar blues, and we can build now a 16-bar tune, 16-bar form. The last phrase, I actually kept going with this pentatonic pattern over to the 3rd bar and left space, so you can kind of think of that like a 4-bar phrase, even though there's space right there. Let's do that one more time. Top of the page, for Summertime. Here we go. like I'm playing the blues when I play over this tune. I know it's not a 12-bar blues, right? But we're bringing the soul, the essence, the feeling of the blues to this tune. Let's play the next chorus together. Do your best, and notice every time that there are numbers, it's one of those 2-5 patterns. And there's different melodies we can play over each 2 chord and different melodies over the 5 chord, and we can mix and match them. It's kind of like a math puzzle. I love math. Anybody out there love math? Well, music can be very mathematical. Maybe you'll love math even more after you dig into this. Music can be very mathematical, but at the same time, always try to put your heart and soul into it, right? And we'll try to do that right now, and then keep practicing this with these play-alongs, and listen to other people, the way they soloed over summertime, and you will hear. Chet Baker is a really good person to listen to, trumpet player, to play over summertime. You're going to hear a lot of blues and great change running too. Okay, so we're going to start here. Measure 17, this is the second chorus, and let's do it. Here we go. Combining key center, soulful blues with 2-5 patterns. Definitely a jump up harmonically. But the most important thing, can you hear the soulful sounds interweaving with the changes? I hope so, okay? In the interest of time, let's move on to Autumn Leaves, one more jazz standard, okay? And Autumn Leaves is really, it's a really important tune for everybody to study, because the whole thing is comprised of 2-5-1 progressions in major and then the relative minor. We really want to think of it in concert G minor, so that's the majority of the tune, and then 3 of the phrases are in the relative concert B flat major. So look here with me, look in the 3rd bar of every line, look in the 3rd bar of every line, and you're going to see the 1 chord. Okay, so that's concert B flat major. So 2-5-1 in concert B flat major, and then an extra 4 chord. Don't worry about the chords that are in bar 4. The next line, a 2-5-1 in concert G minor. And it's basically that, going back and forth. On this line, they reverse the order, and then we end with 2 minor keys. So here's the thing, the key center is changing every 4 bars, and therefore, skip ahead to your solo. This is the last solo, everybody. You've made it to the last solo. And then, I know we had some technical difficulty starting, so and I'm happy to stay as long as people have questions, okay? So, looks like we're going to finish probably right about 8 o'clock, and then we can take some time for questions, and I hope you'll stick around if you have them, or to hear other people's great questions. Every time you see numbers, remember it's 2-5-1. 2-5, and then 1 here. We do have resolutions to the 1 chord. If you don't see numbers, we list the pentatonic or blues scales down below, and then there's something called CAT, which is an acronym for chromatic approach tone, and I like that. CAT. You hear people talking that jazz lingo, say, "Oh, that cat is jamming. That cat sounds great." So you can also think cat is a chromatic approach tone. Put this on an upbeat, leads to a chord tone on a downbeat. They're really, really cool. Okay? So here we go. We're going to add some chromatic approach tones. And for the first half, play 2-5-1s. For the second half, we'll get our blues on, get our soul on. Okay, here we go. Last solo, do your best. Here we go. I'm switching play-alongs to Autumn Leaves. And I'll put this at, again, 3/4 speed to take our time. 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Leave some space. 1, 2. Fun. That was fun. Would y'all like to play that one more time before we finish? Thumbs up. Let's do it one more time to celebrate what you did. Here we go. From the top. Could you hear, everybody? Could you hear when we switched from the changes to playing back in the key, that even though we have these 2, 5, 1 chords, we're really thinking of the home key for each line, which I labeled for you, and tried to put some really soulful vocabulary, especially as we led towards the end, have a really soulful finish to this tune. I love playing Autumn Leaves like that, okay? So that was a lot. I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. And I tell you what, I've been curious about music ever since I was a kid, ever since, again, listening to the radio with my mom, great music from the 50s and 60s, working backwards to hear the influences of those great artists that I love. And then just always looking for great music and enjoying live music. Try to see live music, it's so inspiring. And throughout that whole time, I've never stopped being curious about music. And that's part of the excitement of teaching. I feel like I'm still learning, and it's such a thrill to get to share ideas every day as a teacher and helping future teachers at Vandercook College of Music and current teachers. We have masters students that are current teachers that come back to Vandercook in the summer and work on their master's degree. So helping all kinds of teachers. And tonight, to share these ideas with you is really a privilege for me. Very exciting. I know that I can't hear you. I wish that we could be in the same room together and I could hear you and we could share this experience in that way. But I hope wherever you are that you'll take these ideas and show your friends. If you have questions, email me, ask your teachers at school, and continue to use this lesson packet. And if you don't have it now, it'll be emailed to you as a resource to practice. Now, why don't we take some questions? And a lot of people are saying thank you, and I thank you. I thank you too. Would anybody like to feel free to raise your hand? I could call on you. And
I did have one here, Professor Kidonakis.
Yeah.
What was that you did at the end of measure 23? Austin wants to.
End of measure 23. Let's see. Maybe like those little, like a little scoop and a little fall. Okay, let me share my. I'm still sharing, right? So everybody, just go ahead and look at my screen, and you can see the end of measure 23. I'll play the whole line. This is the major blues scale. So on my instrument, I scooped into the B. I started under pitch, as if I was singing. Everybody say dwee with dwee. Now sing dwee. Sing that with me. Dwee. Dwee. So I start under pitch, and then I get right onto the pitch. And I can do that with a different fingering. On alto sax, I'm adding a key in my right hand and then slowly removing it. I can also, in combination with my jaw is low to begin, and then I bring it back up into pitch. And then I fall, and I kind of do a chromatic scale and lower my jaw, drop my jaw. Now you're never here to do this in concert band, right? You're not supposed to move the pitch around and change your embouchure, but in jazz, this is a vocal art form, especially the blues. This is totally okay. In fact, it's encouraged to help build the style. So cool. Okay, I hope that answered that question. Juan has a question, and then we'll get to Cynthia. So Juan, what's your question?
It's more about that same thing but not the scoop, the drop.
Yeah. So depending on what note you're dropping from, you could, from a G, you could just add.
Is it just chromatic?
Yeah, I'm doing chromatic. And I'm dropping my jaw at the same time. So I've got two things working together to help turn this into my voice, right? So yeah, work on that, like falling from different notes and scooping into different notes. You'll see that notated in your jazz music. Thank you, Juan. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Cynthia, a question, and then Adrian.
Hi, what's an efficient way to practice soloing, like improvising and such?
That's a huge question. Efficient. Well, you always have to start with listening to be inspired, right? Cynthia, what instrument do you play?
For this, I'm using tenor saxophone.
Tenor sax, okay.
Yeah.
Find a tenor player, alto player, barry player that you really like. Try to find one or two, right? Really listen to them. Try to find that person playing a blues. Okay? Start there. Get really into their sound, their style, their phrasing. Try to transcribe a little bit at a time. This lesson packet, I hope this will be helpful to you. I think that you should get that book, that Running the Changes. I listed it on the reference page. I'm going to circle all the way back here. Running the Changes, Definitive Guide to Jazz Improvisation for All Instruments by Mike Steinell. He is fantastic. He's going to give you a lot of different approaches to thinking about it, different practice strategies. And I think that whatever you do, I think consistency is key. I think spend a little bit of time each day learning, mastering these pentatonic and blues scales. Learn your major scales in all 12 keys, dominant 7th scale, Dorian minor. That's on this page. The 3 most used scales and chords. And then learn some 2/5 patterns, and then apply them to some simple tunes, right? Like the blues, and then Summertime's a good one to do next, to get some 2/5s in there. Some other really good tunes that are bluesy and don't have a whole lot of chord changes in them. There's a tune called Cold Duck Time. Anybody ever played Cold Duck Time? That's really fun. You can stay in the home key the whole time. Doxy, Sonny Rollins tune, that's really great. 16-bar tune. Song for My Father, that's a great bossa nova, and you can play blues over that and start to highlight some of the changes. And start there. And again, it's a big question, right? Efficient practicing. I'm trying to figure that out myself, Cynthia. There's going to be a lot of answers in these 2 books. Again, with the time that we had, these books have a wealth of information and for you to continue forward. So I hope that helps give you some direction, Cynthia. Thank you.
Professor, I have actually a really great question from a 5th grade teacher here. In Maryland, 5th grade is still part of elementary school. Any suggestions for an elementary general music teacher incorporating these ideas to instrumental students at the elementary level?
Wow, fantastic. I think pentatonic and blues scales are fantastic because you're taking notes. There's less notes than a 7-note scale, less notes than a major scale, and you don't have to play the whole scale to improvise. You could start with just the first note, put on a 12-bar blues, one of these backing tracks, and do some call and response. So for you as the teacher to play, and the students play, and they play, and just get the matching rhythm so the notes don't change. Then when they are getting the rhythm, add 1 note, and then they play. When they get 2 notes, they can hear the difference, a low note and a high note, high, low, add a 3rd note. There is a really good method book. It's a really good method book. I think that 5th graders, they might need a little more time but even after a year or 2, there's a book by Dean Sorensen called First Place for Jazz. First Place for Jazz. I'll type it here in the chat. He focuses on the keys of concert: B flat, E flat, and F, and major scale tunes based off the major scale, the dominant 7th scale, Dorian minor, and the blues scale. And he's got a whole bunch of repertoire in there, lessons. There's a bunch of resources online, audio resources that can play along, and a whole curriculum for the teacher. We just started using that book in our One City program we have for 5th through 8th graders here that meet on Saturdays. And check that out. I hope this call and response and that idea and this curriculum will help. So thank you, Mary, for that question. Thank you. And some people are playing Cold Duck Time, Song for My Father, and their combo, Doxy. That's great. See, and you can use blues sounds over all that. Adrian.
Okay, I was wondering, what are some good characteristics of a jazz tone?
A jazz tone. Okay, so if you play saxophone, first thing is, in the classical music, I'll kind of get close to the camera here, we roll our lip in, like on clarinet and saxophone. Our top teeth are on the mouthpiece, but our lower lip is curved in. In jazz, you can take your lower lip, puff it out a little bit so that the reed is resting more on the fleshier part of your lip, and you'll get some of you get a bit of a fuzzier tone, the tone that you don't want in concert band, right? you can bring this into your jazz playing. I had a teacher who would call that the stuff in your sound. You want that stuff in your sound. And it will automatically give you what's called a subtone. The technical term for that is subtone. Hear the difference? Here's traditional. Here's subtone. And the low notes, you can really hear it. I like to play a G and go down chromatically, and then try to get that subtone in your sound. Combine that with the flexibility of your jaw, in and out of notes, and that sounds like jazz, yeah? That's my 90-second answer to that, Adrian.
I had one additional question from Madison. Do you know any good websites or tricks to make it easier to learn the chord changes?
Extra tricks for the chord changes? Was that the question, Ms. Ferris?
Yes, easier tips and tricks or anything that you can provide to learn chord changes.
Learn chord changes. Okay. So, I'm going to go back to this page here. This is the third page in the packet. No, fourth page, sorry. And it says, these are the three most used scales and chords. Okay, major, dominant, seventh, and minor. And then you'll see these are the chord symbols, what that means. So this is major, the triangle. You don't see that too often. M-A, J7, or M-A. And then the 7 means dominant 7, that's the lowered 7. And then the dash, the minus sign, or Mi7 means minor 7. And what I would try to do is play this scale, use these numbers, okay? Learn all your major scales if you have not done that yet. And then try to play all your major scales and then lower the 7th by a half step. That's your dominant 7th scale. Okay, and then you take that scale and you go to this blues progression. Do you see it right? I'm going to go to the one for alto sax players here. See, G7, that's dominant 7. So I might play it. Or maybe play up to 7 and back down. And then I'll do that again here. And C. And G. There's only one bar, so I can only go up. So you can try the same pattern and then move it around, be able to play that on the chords that you see, and start with simple things like this, and then you can go to a tune like Song for My Father, which has mixes up some minor scales and dominant 7th scales. Look for tunes where the chords don't change that often to begin, to give you time to apply. And I tell you what, the Jamie Aebersold play-along called Maiden Voyage, it's volume 54, I believe. Jamie Aebersold, Maiden Voyage, has a lot of beginning level tunes, and he's got, in every bar, he's got the scale, and then he fills in the chord tones. So you can play those in time to get a sense for outlining the harmony, or you can just forget about all the harmony and just play the blues scale in the home key in a lot of those tunes. Again, not every tune. And then bring that approach to the blues. So you have kind of both ways of looking at it. But again, your question was about playing the chord changes, and that's how I would start. Get Jamie Aebersold volume 54, Maiden Voyage. And then also download his handbook and read. There's a lot of great stuff in the handbook as well. Cool. Is it G1? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I was wondering if there are some websites that I can study blues scales and jazz things.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm going to go back to the beginning of this packet. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this Jazz Handbook is a free download by Jamie
Okay.
Anderson. Okay.
Okay.
This book you would purchase, but it's totally worth it. So when you can, I would get that book. This app doesn't have a lot of instruction, but it's good for playing. But your question was about websites. Learn Jazz Standards. This website has many, many lessons, and you can search specifically for what type of material you're looking for. Are you looking to learn about blues scales? Are you looking to learn about bebop scales? Are you looking to start to outline chord tones? Are you looking to a lesson in music theory or harmony? They've got everything.
Okay.
It's an amazing website. So there, and then don't forget about these
Okay.
blues melodies right here, Dan Miller. So yeah,
Okay.
start there,
Thank
and then
you.
that'll lead you to other places. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to say this was a lot of fun. Thank you for letting me share these ideas with you. I hope they continue to bear good fruit for you in your musical journeys. And I hope they bring you a lot of joy in your lives. If you ever have any questions, my email address is on the front page of that lesson. And I just wish you all the best in your futures and keep the music alive. Thank you for being with us.